Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Turn Brain Knits. I am Heather, your host. This is a primarily knitting podcast from Olympia, Washington. Thank you for everybody who's joined me before, and welcome to all the new viewers. I'm going to take a minute to stop and talk about what's been going on Instagram the past couple of days. If you've been on there at all, you've probably noticed some big, deep, serious conversations going on about race and inclusion in our community. Now, there are a million people out there who are much more eloquent about the subject than I can be, but I just wanted to take just a quick moment. One thing I want to say is that when you hurt somebody, it is not your decision whether or not that hurt is real or how much that hurt affected somebody. And it's clear that as just an overall community, we've hurt people, and so it is our job to do better. I'd like to just before we move on mention Knit Harder. It's a hashtag on Instagram that looks like it's been created by Nori Chan Knits. Let's see if you can, nope, there we go. And what this is similar to a Make 9, where there are 9 squares with actual measurable action you can take if you want to do better at being more inclusive in the makers and designers that you're using in your own knitting. It's a big conversation. There's a lot to unpack in it. And this is just one way that if you're not quite sure where to start, you might look here as a place to explore. I know that I've been following a lot of the names that have come up in these conversations, noticing that my own Instagram feed has been pretty white. It can be difficult because you follow people you follow, and so it ends up becoming this cycle. And I know for me personally, most of my patterns and most of my yarns and notions and all of that come from makers that I found through Instagram. So having a more inclusive group of makers coming up in my feed should naturally just help me better explore a more inclusive group of people. But we're going to move on. Again, we're here for the knitting and we're here for the yarn, and the big conversations are big and important, but we get to still have some fun. So this week I have a number of finished objects. I have a couple of active works in progress, a few knitting goals, and then I thought that since we are at the beginning of the year, it's my first time back since December and the holidays, that I would do a WIP roundup. So I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but I think we'll start with some finished objects. They are all socks, which really isn't going to be super surprising once you get to know me. I knit a lot of socks. And I have 4 finished pairs. So first up, we have this pair. I do not have blockers for these because they are giant husband socks, or as I'm hashtagging them on Instagram, dude socks. One of my main goals this year is to knit more dude socks. I have 3 9-inch circular needles that I use for socks, and everything I do for socks I do on these 3 needles, except for toes, which are magic looped. And so my goal this year is to have one needle always have a dude sock on it, one needle always have a second sock on it, and then the other needle be free for a new project or sock bash stuff, or just really I'm bored and want something new. So the first pair of dude socks is this pair for my husband. They are a 72 stitch just vanilla sock, and I used the Fish Lips Kiss Heel, which I love. It's my favorite. And this is Beyond the Wall from Knit Picks Felici. So it's Game of Thrones inspired, and my husband's a little bit obsessed. And he loves them. He's actually already worn these. But he doesn't really wear his wool socks under shoes at all. He wears them more like a slipper sock. Um, he runs really warm, so wool socks are going to be a bit too much for him out and about. But I really like this colorway. It's got just the 3 blues and the 3 grays. Yeah, and stripes make dude socks go way, way quicker. So next up, let me throw them on my blockers. These are one of the pairs of my Christmas socks that unfortunately were not finished by Christmas. And we have these, both of them. These are the evergreen sock. And I don't remember the designer off the top of my head. And the color, which is not showing, there we go, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit brighter and mintier in real life. I'm going a little bit orange. The yarn is Magnolia from Shipwreck Sheep. And it was a show colorway from this past summer. It just has this really nice evergreen or pine tree, Christmas tree lace pattern that goes all the way around. And then just a vanilla foot. Again, fish lips kiss heel, because that's pretty much all I use. The toe is the one straight from the pattern, which I normally use the Mina Phillips toe from the Wanderlust sock collection. This toe is a little bit pointier than I would really like, but I think as they wear, I won't notice it anymore. These ones actually haven't worn at all. They're super sparkly. I don't know if I can get that on the camera. They might get tucked away for Christmas, but they're not super Christmassy, so I might just wear them because I love them. Yeah, so I finished those a while ago. And then, let's see, the third pair are the longest pair of socks I've ever made. I normally do about a 5-inch leg, and these are crazy long. So let's throw this other one on the blocker, and I'll show them both to you. I'm sure you have seen these around if you are on Instagram at all. But these are the Cozy Knitter 24 stripe Advent sock. So it is a 24 stripe repeat. And I did these in opposite directions because I couldn't remember where I started my toe cast on. And I'd rather them be completely different than have the stripes just be a tiny bit off. So I just reversed them. So each of these socks has 2 full repeats, so they're 48 stripes each. And they're kind of wild and crazy, and I do like them. I am not sure if I would go ahead and get this 24 stripe skein again. She has already set up, it's from the Cozy Knitter. She's a Canadian dyer. She's already set up not a pre-order, but like a pre-order. So you can be notified when she does list next year's skein. I don't think it was very explicit when I ordered these that while it's a 24 stripe, it is not a Christmas colorway. And I like this. I think she's got a really good eye for color. I really love this denim-y stripe right here and this like lipsticky red here. But I would have preferred if it was a more Christmassy colorway for it being an Advent sock. And she never said it was a Christmas colorway. It was just an assumption that I made that was wrong. But it was fun to have more mindful knitting, but I did find it was easy to be mindful and do my 4 stripes a day for the first sock. By the time I got to the second sock, I would kind of do it in spurts where I knit 3 or 4 days at a time. But I did get these ones done by Christmas. The yarn is really, really soft. I'd love to try more of her stripes. But I'm not sure that it's a great alternative to the mini skeins. And it's good to have those 24 things, and it actually ends up being a finished object by Christmas, which is cool. But I'm not 100% sure that I would do this one again, just because I would prefer it to be more Christmassy if I'm doing my Christmas socks. So my last finished object is, I think it's super exciting. So I checked on Instagram, and this happened back in August, like the middle of August. It's been quite a while. I posted a picture on Instagram of this dude. Now, you might recognize him. This is Tamatoa. He is a giant crab from the Disney movie Moana, and he is shiny because that is his thing, and he sings a song about being shiny. And I love Moana. It is my favorite modern Disney movie, and way up there with some of the classics that I love, like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Love Moana so much. Well, this guy is pretty fabulous. And I posted on Instagram back in August that I needed somebody to dye me yarn that matched him. It was just kind of a joke, not a big deal. And shortly before Christmas, I was tagged in a story from Malia Made It. Malia Made It is a fairly new dyer. She just hit her 100th sale on Etsy, and she does amazing self-striping. Well, she tagged me because she had created a colorway inspired by my picture, which was so super exciting. And she had one scan of it, and of course I snatched it up. She nailed it. It is absolutely amazing. She got all of his colors. It is called Shiny, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see. Okay, it's got some sparkle in it, but she actually used gold stellina instead of silver. It's perfect. I love it. Her yarn is so nice and soft, and she's got a great eye for color. I mean, I love these so much. The colors are just perfect. And this is the Dandelion socks from Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. But this was a gold level Patreon pattern for 2018. I do not think it is currently available, and I have no idea if it's going to be available. But it just gives you this interesting texture at your color changes to just break it up a little bit. And I've been holding these and not wearing them so that I could show you guys. I'm so excited that I can finally wear them. I actually have 3 more skeins of Malia Made It on its way. She had a Neon New Year club, mystery club for January that I had to do. Wizard's Chess, which was one of her Christmas colorways, inspired by when Harry and Ron from Harry Potter play Wizard's Chess at Christmas time. And that will probably go to my husband for more dude socks. And then my little brother has been wanting a pair of socks. And he's been looking at yarn, and he hasn't been really buying yarn, and he's really wanted something Doctor Who, and hasn't really found anything that was perfect. There's lots of TARDIS blue out there, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much just a blue sock. Well, I went looking on Instagram for inspiration or recommendations of dyers who are doing Doctor Who yarn. It's easy to find Harry Potter, and Doctor Who's a little bit harder. And Malia messaged me and offered to create a colorway for him. And so I've seen it. I haven't seen it skeined up yet, but I have seen it when it was in the dye pots. And so he wanted the David Tennant Doctor, the TARDIS, Clara, the Companion, and the Weeping Angels. So she did, I think it's an 8 stripe repeat based on those 4 things, and I'm so excited. It's looking really, really great. I'll have to show you guys all of that when it comes. I've got lots of club yarn coming this month. I treated myself at Christmas to some yarn clubbing, so it'll be really fun. But these, again, Malia made it, and she is on Etsy, and she's doing some really fun stuff. You should absolutely check her out. Okay, let's go to my current, like, active WIPs I'm actually working on. So I only have 1 sock on the needles right now, which is a little bit crazy. I finished the Beyond the Wall socks just a couple days ago, and I haven't cast on a new sock beyond that. But this is my sock bash sock for January. So if you guys don't know, Sock Bash is a monthly knit along by the Grocery Girls podcast. The goal being that you start and finish a pair of socks all in 1 month, and each month has a special theme. Just a second. Some sort of special theme that gives you a double entry of your sock. So for January, the theme is local or close to you, something like that yarn. And the only yarn I had in my stash that I knew was specifically local was this. This is Gold Digger from Hula Hut Yarns. I'm not sure what city she's from, but I know she is Pacific Northwest. And I picked this up at a local yarn store in, I want to say Everett. We were up there for a concert in September. And I picked this up at a little nitty. And I actually didn't intend to, I'm going to try that again. I didn't initially buy it for a pair of husband socks, but I'm really happy that I chose this for him. It's got this great, kind of stripy, swirly thing happening with these coppery golds, really emeraldy greens, and then the navy. And this is the new Rye Light pattern from Tin Can Knits. So it just has the squishy garter down the front of it and stocking it all through the back. They just released this pattern. The rye sock, the regular rye sock, I think is a worsted weight pattern. But this comes in all the sizes, like all of their patterns do, from itty bitty to like an extra large. This is, again, it's 72 stitches, which I think is the second to biggest size, but I'm not really sure. So yeah, my husband has another pair on the needles because I needed to use the local yarn. So I'm about, I've got 4 repeats on the foot, and I probably need 9 or 10 repeats. They're not actually repeats. It's only a 2-row repeat, but I'm marking every 10 rows. So I'm at 42, 44 rows right now, but I probably need to be between 80 and 90. So yeah, these I'm working on hard so that I can get them done for Sock Bash. They're going pretty quickly. They're pretty mindless. But a great first pattern, like it's part of the Simple collection from Tin Can Knits, and all of their patterns are great go-to patterns for beginning. Actually, my other work in progress is another Tin Can Knits. Funnily enough, up until yesterday, this yarn was a completely different pattern. So this is all I have right now. This is going to be a grain shawl. So it is just a basic symmetrical triangle worsted weight garter shawl. This was the Hedge Witch shawl. There is a knit along going on that started the full moon of December and goes through the full moon of January. And it's a great pattern and it's very lovely. And I found myself not finding the rhythm of it. I know other people memorized it easily and never found that point when it was, when I didn't have to look at the pattern constantly. And I also was struggling to get one of the stitches correct. It's like a make one right purlwise, and sometimes it was right and sometimes it was wrong, and I could never quite figure out when I was doing it right and when I was doing it wrong. But it just was sitting on my needles because I just never found the rhythm on it. And so I frogged it, and it's just going to be a grain, which is actually what I'm wearing right now. This is a pretty small grain. Let's see. The yarn is a wool and silk blend from Universal Yarns. It's in the Santa Fe colorway, but I am not sure which yarn it was. It was yarn that I got that was donated to my husband's work, and he picked up, it wasn't really donated, it was just given away, and he picked me up 5 50-gram skeins of it. And it turned into this, and it's really cold today, and this is nice and warm. But this one is going to be quite a bit bigger. I have 3 skeins of yarn. I'm using Fisherman's Wool. Whoops, it's Lion brand Fisherman's Wool, which is actually the brown is 100% virgin wool containing natural oils. And it's upside down. This one does have some acrylic and rayon, but that is just the tweedy parts. So it's really woolly wool. It feels really nice and soft. It's not scratchy at all. And it's going to be really nice and cozy. So I have 2 skeins of this, and they are 6-ounce skeins at 348 yards a piece. And then I have 1 skein of the dark. And I know that I will do a bottom border. That's the dark, but I also think that sometime after I finish the first skein, I will start striping this in various quantities. So that I can use as much of this yarn as possible without having 2/3 of it one color and then the other third one color. I don't want it to be quite so blocky. But this is great just television knitting because it's just garter stitch. But sometimes it's better to frog a project and put something on your needles that you know you're going to finish. And I just got the feeling that the Hedge Witch wasn't happening. But this one, I can pick it up and put it down. It can travel knit with me. It's kind of sleepy knitting or reading knitting or any of that. So I think we'll actually have a nice shawl. So let me adjust a little bit before we get into the WIP roundup. So I did want to talk about goals just a little bit. So I already talked about my main sock goal, which is to, one, just knit more dude socks. I'd like to have 12 pairs, but that feels a little bit ambitious. But I'm hoping at least 6 pairs of socks for my husband this year. I've looked at Make 9, and I just don't really know that I'm that type of knitter. I find that I get over ambitious on things like that, or realize, oh, I've got 6 shawls on here and I'm not necessarily much of a shawl knitter, or whatever. It's just not the best goal setting strategy for me personally. So I do want to focus on second socks. I've got a few more than I would really like to have, or I have a few more single socks than I would like to have, and the dude socks. And to really be mindful of my stash. I don't feel like I buy a ton of yarn. I'm not comfortable having a massive stash, and it's gotten a little bit further than I want it to now. But I did recently get one of those square shelving units from IKEA. Has 8 squares in it. I only have of two of them half full of yarn. One of them is full of scraps, one has WIPs, and one has my computer in it. But I can see what I have much, much better now. And so I'm hoping to really make sure that I'm mindful of using those skeins that I already have and not just buying. Not going on a yarn diet. But I just do want to be more aware that I am using what I'm buying, because it's not doing anybody any good for it to sit in my stash. That's just money hanging out. And I feel like if someone's dyeing you beautiful yarn, that probably they want to see you use it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have any very super specific goals. But I'm hoping that distinguishing what goes on my sock needles will really help me keep things under control. So let's go through some WIPs. So when I got my new shelving unit, I went through my yarn and I went through my WIPs. And I got rid of, I lost track, probably 12 projects. Some of them I fully frogged, saved the yarn. Some of them I cut and threw away. Some of them just got thrown away. For various reasons. Yeah. But it felt so good to just get rid of things that were not ever going to be completed. So what I have here is a pretty good representation of what should be doable to finish. So let's get started. So this is my Not All Who Wander Are Lost bag, which is, I think, a purse sort of thing from Walmart. And it doesn't have much in it, but it does have the very, very beginnings of the northeasterly blanket. When I went through my yarn, I realized I have a lot more scraps than I realized. And I've been hesitant to start a blanket. The mitered squares look incredibly tedious to me. And I don't love granny stripe blankets. I understand the draw of them, totally get that, but it's just not something that is really for me. It's not something that I love. But I do like the look of this northeasterly. It's pretty simple. And let's see, it's been a while since I've worked on it. So you've got these chevrons, and the way it's designed, you use as much or as little like yarn as you want. So it's great for scraps, and it will look really great in self-striping. And you keep doing it, and then it's designed so you actually connect the different strips as you knit. So there's no actual seaming to be done, which is really cool. And also definitely a draw to this pattern. It's by Skananigans, I believe. And the pattern has a number of YouTube videos for some of the different techniques. So yeah, I really like it. And when I was knitting on it, I found it to be fairly addictive. I just haven't been working on it right now, but it is something that I will go to periodically to add scraps and hopefully like really use these beautiful yarns. This is Bad Santa. I know it's knitted wit, and I know it's a Christmas colorway. I think it's called Bad Santa. I have a pair of zigzag socks made out of this. And it's really, really fun, so I'm glad that I will be able to use it. So, put that aside. Next, in my alpaca my bag from Knit Picks bag is the, what's it called? The My Sister's shawl. I'm trying to not show the pattern. Which is by Cozy Up Designs. So last year I won this pattern and this skein of yarn from Camel City Dye Works. I won it as part of the sock bash from the Grocery Girls. And so I really wanted to use this yarn with this pattern. And so this is what I have so far. So this up here, you actually cast on provisionally. And this is the center of this. It's more of a wrap scarfy thing than an actual shawl. It just comes down to points on each end. But this is the center. And then you work all the way down to the tip, and then you come back here and you work all the way down to the other tip. So we've got, what does it have? It has a little bit of a mess. It's got some mesh lace. I think this might be seed stitch. It was a while since I worked on it. More mesh lace, some fading, some big eyelets, and then this lace pattern here. So the blue is, it's Boss Kitty. Oh, do I have a tag? I have a tag. This is Boss Kitty Yarns. I got it at a trunk show at one of my local yarn stores. She has a super cute label. And this is, what is it? It's Larkspur, and it's what she calls her Cat's Cradle undertone. And she had a bunch of different colors, and she actually has lots of like really bright colors. But this skein of yarn is so cool. It's got these beautiful copper undertones, and then it's got the blue over the top of it. So it's just got this really neat look to it. And then the silver is crazy sparkly. I got it at Pike's Place Market at a yarn store that's there. This is Anzula Nebula. It is 16% stellina. So it sparkles and sparkles and sparkles and sparkles. I really should work on this more. It's a little bit, I'm at a lace. I'm not a huge lace knitter. I haven't done much of it. And so life got in the way and I lost track, and I really need to get back to this. My thought is also I've got some really great, what is it? Mohair in a very similar color to this. So it comes back down. You get more of the blue towards, you get another section of the blue towards the end. I'm thinking that I'm going to hold that with mohair to make it nice and fuzzy, and use the mohair because I used such a tiny amount when I used it for its intended project. Okay, let's see. Okay, and in this Sephora makeup bag, oh, this one. This has been on my needles forever, since like March. And it is so close to being done, but at some point in time I stole the needle off of it. So there's some fun, I don't know what's going on. It actually looks really great on the camera. Look at those colors. Those are beautiful. This is the Knitting at the Library cowl. It's kind of a sampler. So you've got, I don't know, it's got faux cables and other different stitches. Been a while since I worked on this. And it's really fun. It's a mini set. And I don't remember what it is, but it's all of these really bright marled colors. And this really, I just need to get it back on the needles, and probably just add ribbing and call it done. It's fingering weight, but this is I know it's a silk blend, so it's nice and cool. It feels really great. I'm loving how these colors look. So I really just need to sit down and go through the process of picking up stitches and get that thing done. Oops. I missed a tail. Okay. I think everything else, excuse me, is probably socks. So we'll go through them quickly. Harry Potter bag from Fate's Thread. And in it is, it's a dude sock. Got one of them completely done. This is Hot Socks Bolero in color 33. I won this yarn in a knit along last year, and I had the second sock all the way through the heel, and I did something wrong on the heel, and it had like an extra point on it. And when I went to pull out the heel and fix it, I realized I didn't even have the right number of stitches on my needles. And so I just frogged the whole thing. And this yarn, while it's super durable, it's not the kindest on my hands. And so it just needed time out. It's likely that once I finish the Gold Digger socks I'm working on now, that I will cast on this set as my other dude sock to get that one finished. Another Fates thread bag, this one full of Disney princesses. And this, let's pull out my sock blockers again. This is a one of a kind colorway from Shipwreck Sheep. And this is a pattern from Mina Phillips of the Knitting Expat. And I don't know which pattern it is. I'm going to have to figure that out. It's got this faux cable on it. And I really like the sock quite a bit. I like the yarn. It makes me think of camo and of spring flowers, which is an interesting combination. Here it is. I think what happened with this one is that I needed to cast on a sock for Sock Bash, and this just got put aside. So again, 1 second needle, 1 second sock on my needles all the time. Hopefully we'll get some of these done. We've got a few more. One of my favorite bags, Fates thread, Super Mario Brothers 3. I have the matching notion pouch on its way for this. This one, actually you guys have seen this one. This is my effervescent sock from Paper Daisy Creations, part of the Socks of Wonka. And this is Shipwreck Sheep in the Absinthe colorway from the Moulin Rouge Club. Again, I think I started my Christmas socks, so that got put aside. Okay, 3 more. Adjust. So this bag is from Little Fish Stitches, who is pretty local to me. I actually got this at my local yarn store, but she does sell on Etsy. And this is beautiful yarn. This is the Elephant, which is inspired by Satine's Elephant Bedroom in Moulin Rouge. Though this was not a club colorway, it was still Moulin Rouge inspired. And this is my Galliano sock from Tracy of the Grocery Girls. Tracy Miller, I think. It's got these cables and a little bit of lace and some, I think, twisted stitches down the side. Yarn's really, really beautiful. Cables just aren't really my favorite thing to do. So it got put aside. And it also really needs to be blocked. When I put it on my foot, it's not lining up correctly. But I think a good blocking will fix that. And I think we've got 2 more. So here's my Evolution bag from Fates Thread. And this is, oh, okay. So this is using Knit Picks Felici in Candy Shop. And this is a sock. This is my Chutes and Ladder sock. I should probably work on this because this is a pattern I was writing. My first pattern I was writing. It's not quite there. I actually really like it. Look that. That's really cute. I like it a lot. I need to do my thing with this. I forgot how much I liked it. So yeah, I'm tentatively calling it my Chutes and Ladder sock. And hopefully I can get the second one done and maybe get a pattern out. That might be fun. And the last one isn't a sock. Nope. It's some more Knit Picks Felici in, I don't know what color it is. I'm gonna say Hawaiian shirt, but that might be completely wrong. I'm gonna throw this on the blocker anyway because it is a fingerless mitt. Let's see if you can see it. So this is the Faith, Trust, and Pixie Dust mitt by Jack Beck. Jack Beck Designs, I think. And so it's got the texture with the stripes, and then these are star stitches down the side to go with the second star on the left. And the cuff. Now, I did not follow the pattern very well. I adjusted it so that I went from here to here instead of from here to here, because I wanted to get a whole pair out of 50 grams of yarn because I had one skein of this Felici. And this is a good size mitt for half of a skein. And I also think I moved the stars because the pattern's designed for the stars to be on the same side on both hands, and I wanted them to be symmetrical. So I think on this one I changed the placement of the stars so that they'd be along the thumb on both. And these were really quick. I did these in like a day and a half. So I need to throw this onto my needle and finish up these mitts. I made a teeny tiny pair for my little one, and she absolutely loved them. And I think that's it. So there's my WIP parade. We're not going to call it WIP shaming because you can have as many WIPs as you want. But going through all my stuff and seeing all the WIPs has helped me kind of gauge where I'm at, what I need, what I should be devoting my time to. It's really easy to get distracted by all the bright new shiny things all the time and to be like, oh, I'm totally somebody who's going to knit a 4-color brioche shawl with fades and marls. And I mean, I'm not. But sometimes you cast that thing on because it's new and bright and shiny and you realize that it's just not best for you. So I found it very not traumatic to get rid of all of these just languishing WIPs. It felt so freeing to just release all of that stuff so that I know that the stuff that's going to be on my needles are things that I love and want to have and things I'm going to want to finish and have. Yeah. So I think that's all I've got. I can't see how much time it's been. But I know this one's been a bit longer. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm planning on recording every other Tuesday now that the holidays are over, and hopefully that can be a pretty consistent schedule and have enough knitting content to share with all of you. You can find me on Ravelry at The Turned Brain and on Instagram at The Turned Brain Knits. I'm there all the time, and I'd love for you to hook up with me there. Yeah, I think that's it. Have a great day. Bye.